PFT Media.
What is up, my dudes? Let me ask you something. What's the most bizarre film you've ever seen? What film or film franchise can you think of that has a hero that's a middle-aged balding man? What film is a shining beacon of hope to all the indie, amateur, semi-pro, and DIY filmmakers out there? Well, the answer is Don Coscarelli's Phantasm. Welcome to Up a Stream. Phantasm is a bizarre ride of a movie. Its dreamlike structure and imagery are baffling and haunting in equal measure. Coscarelli was ahead of his time in many ways. He was in touch with the business side of filmmaking in ways a lot of indie filmmakers are today, and Phantasm is a great case study for what can be done on a shoestring budget. Made in 1978 for $300,000, Phantasm was Coscarelli's attempt to break through as a filmmaker. He hadn't had too much luck with his previous films, and he believed that horror films were always successful if the budget was low enough. Coscarelli was inspired by the novel Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. Hey, that's one of my favorite books too. Disney had already gobbled up the rights though, from Coscarelli himself. I had a compunction to try to do something in the horror genre, and I started thinking about how our culture handles death. It's different than in other societies. We have this central figure of a mortician. He dresses in dark clothing, he lurks behind doors, they do procedures on the bodies we don't know about. The whole embalming thing, if you ever do any research on it, it's pretty freaky. It all culminates in this grand funerary service production. It's strange stuff. It just seemed like it would be a great area in which to make a film. Securing financing primarily from his parents, family members, and local business owners, Coscarelli spent nights and weekends filming what would become Phantasm. He rounded out his cast with friends and family, his crew all amateur but hopeful craftsmen, and there wasn't any budget left for camera operators or editors, so he did those jobs himself. His mom provided many of the models for the special effects and did much of the wardrobe and costume and makeup. Coscarelli hated to do a test screening of the rough cut at a local cinema, and it was a disaster.
Oh shit.
Tangent time. Now I have mixed feelings about test screenings. Doing a test screening at this budget and level is interesting because there's no money for additional reshoots or photography. You have what you started with, you just have to reshape and work the footage, which is what Coscarelli did. Post-production on Phantasm went about 8 months, which is long for a film that is mostly done with in-camera effects. It's also the main reason given for Phantasm's dreamlike narrative and logic. Coscarelli trimmed back a lot of what he called character and story work in favor of the shots and sequences that were the most interesting. And this is what gives the film a rocket-like pace. Here's a little taste of the story so you understand a little bit more about the plot. The film opens with some sexy sex in a graveyard. Lady in lavender kills old mustache here, kicks off our story. Mustache Guy is a friend slash bandmate slash possible drug supplier to Jody and Reggie. At his funeral, we're led to believe that he never would have killed himself, and that even with that mustache, he's a pretty upstanding guy. Jody has a little brother named Mike, who is a weird kid, but his parents recently died, so everyone cuts him some slack about it. Mike witnesses some weird shit in the graveyard, sees the local undertaker perform some unrealistic feats of strength. He believes something nefarious is happening at the Morningside funeral home. Spoiler alert, he's right.
Oh shit.
Phantasm is fantastic and shouldn't be ignored. Coscarelli's whole goal was just to make something that would get distributed and allow him to keep being a filmmaker. He inadvertently became an indie hero and made a film that still has fans and is relevant almost 40 years later. I'd say mission accomplished. SHUDDER has the new remastered version of Phantasm available for streaming, and I highly recommend it. I'd never seen this movie until I saw this version. Like literally, there were things about the film that were subtle and lost for decades due to some tech pushing the gain too high on the film to VHS transfer and then later the DVD transfers. Bad Robot has done an amazing job up-resing the 4K from the original negatives and remastered the audio to perfection. I got to see this version with a bunch of fanatics at the Alamo. Coscarelli was in attendance and did a Q&A. Most of the info in this video came from notes taken then, from his book True Indie, which I'm currently reading, and good old-fashioned Wikipedia. That's all for this episode of Up a Stream. I'll be back with some November picks for you in a couple of weeks. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you dig what I'm doing here. And if you want to contact me directly or see what I'm all about, be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ILoveBlood, and on Instagram again at BillyDSnaps. Stay cool. I'm Billy D.
A PFT Media production.